Welcome back this week. Today, as we finish up now this week in the book of Deuteronomy, but more important, we finish up now the Pentateuch. That is the 5 books written by Moses. And instead of going through these last 8 chapters like I normally do, I think it's more important now that review of where God has started and what he has brought Israel up to at this point. This is a major point in the history of Israel. So we need to look back, I think, and review what we have read in the writings of Moses. So let us take a look back. We begin with creation, the earth, the seas, the land, the moon, the stars, the sun, all of the creation of the animals on the land, and the pinnacle of it with man himself made in the image of God. And we see right away in that creation that he sanctified the Sabbath. This would be the 4th commandment of the 10 commandments, to keep it holy because God rested on that day. That will be in the future things that we will see. Then we had the fall of man and the Adamic covenant. Adam and Eve could not keep one commandment, but at the end and in the pronouncement of the punishments to the serpent, he said, "You will strike him on the heel, but he will strike you on the head." A direct reference to Satan and Christ himself. The corruption of all mankind, Noah and the flood, the ark, yet another reference to Christ. The Noahic covenant, never to destroy the earth by the water again. This covenant was with the earth itself. The call of Abraham and the Abrahamic covenant, "I will make you the father of many nations." The sacrifice of Isaac, and Abraham told Isaac, God will provide his own sacrifice. And that was the ram caught in the thicket. Yet another reference to Christ. The covenant reaffirmed through Jacob to be named Israel, with 12 sons, the future nation of Israel. The placing of Joseph in Egypt to receive his family. Yet another type of Christ. Jacob and the 70 would go down to Egypt. 430 years later, 603,000 men able to go to war would leave with a multitude of almost 2 million coming out. Moses, after 40 years in Egypt and 40 years in Midian, was being prepared, and at the burning bush, he received the command, "Go get my people." Yet another type of Christ. In the Exodus, to leave the bonds of slavery, to go to the promised land. Yet another reference to the cause of Christ. The preparation of Israel at Sinai, the building of the tabernacle and the giving of the law and the Aaronic priesthood and the Mosaic covenant, beginning with the 10 commandments. The 10 commandments obviously was the covenant in the ark. It was called the Ark of the Covenant. So beginning with that, and that was also the beginning of the age of the law. Later, we would transition into the age of grace. This law would last until the time of Christ. The preparation of the next generation. After 40 years, they wandered in the desert. Sins of the nation kept them there. They could not enter into the promised land, a reference to the lost condition of man. And then the next generation, 601,000 men able to go to war. So there was only 2,000 difference between the first numbering and the last. And then God's protection. Israel had come up now to the plains of Moab. Balak was trying to get Balaam to curse the nation. God would not allow it. God protected them and was going to let them enter into the land. There was no way that he was not going to lead them and not fulfill the promise that he had made, which would be the Palestinian covenant yet just now to be completed. And then we come here to this book of Deuteronomy, and this is the second giving of the law. These are Moses' last words. Miriam and Aaron have already died. Moses would now follow. And the leadership will be transferred to Joshua and Eleazar, and they would be the ones to lead and go in and occupy Canaan. They would cross the river Jordan, and once again, God would part the waters for them to cross, as he did the Red Sea. And this would not be the last time. If you want to see him open the waters again, fast forward up to Elijah and Elisha, and there he will do it again. Pay attention to these last 8 chapters of Deuteronomy as Moses closes the book, and the song of Moses in his hope and prayer for Israel. He knows it's not going to go right. God has told him it's not going to go right. And so we look at this, we think about it. Where will it lead? What will the nation do? So I want to ask you to pray your way through all of this. Maybe go back and do a little review before we move forward with Joshua into the occupation, how much work God has put into Israel up to this point. Stay with your reading, for this is the story of God. And I want to ask that you would pray that God opens your eyes to all of this and in the future readings to come. And I also pray that God would put his blessings on the reading of his word.